#1 picks, a lot of high draft picks overall, and it's starting to bear fruit.
If I would have told you in spring training who would lead the American League in wins right now and be second in winning percentage, I don't think there would be too many people that would have said the Houston Astros, but this is where they're at. They're doing it via the long ball. Not much with the batting averages. You can see at .236, striking out a ton. They are first in the American League in stolen bases. A couple of those guys are not in the lineup tonight, but this has been something that's been much needed here in Houston to see some of these guys finally pay off.
Well, it's been a feast or famine offense. Yesterday was all feast. They scored 13 runs in beating up Seattle 13-0. This kid may be the next phenom that everybody's talking about in the game. Carlos Correa, a couple of years ago, was the #1 pick overall. He's a native of Puerto Rico. He has everything you want, including charisma.
And he's only 20 years old, so how about that? But Correa comes up. He's hit in 6 of the 7 ball games that he's played in, a couple home runs. He's been on base in every single game. And talking to people, you and I were doing it before the game, trying to get some information about this guy. They could not stop raving about him. Yes, Altuve won a batting title last year. They got George Springer. But Correa is the guy they were saying, man, watch this guy play. You'll be impressed.
Phenomenal talent, and he's been compared, at least early on, to that shortstop who plays for the Rockies, Troy Tulowitzki. He is big and strong, and he's the youngest player in baseball at 20. We are set for some hardball. The Rockies and the Astros. Chad Bettis will have the rock. Come on back to Minute Maid Park with us. Back to interleague baseball for the Colorado Rockies. For just the 3rd time this year, they're matching up with an American League team, and they need to snap a slide. They've lost 11 consecutive ball games in American League ballparks. It's still strange for me to think of Houston as an American League club, but it's their 3rd year over in the junior circuit. So the Rockies and Astros matching up. First of 4 ball games, 2 here and then 2 in Denver. Walt Weiss meeting with A.J. Hinch at the plate, going over the ground rules. Usually it's the umpires, but in this case, Hinch is pointing out some of the nooks and crannies. And the first thing we'll tell you really quickly, Tal Smith's Hill, right? out there in center field, which whenever anybody thinks of Minute Maid Park, maybe they think of the train, but very quickly, near the top of the list, you think of that hill. Take a good look at it because it's going away after this season.
As you like to say, you won't see it for long.
You won't see it for long.
That's right. Thank you for getting rid of it. Yeah, that's been a pet peeve of mine.
We were visiting with Charlie Blackman. Charlie was unaware that they were taking it away, and he was really happy when he heard that. It reminded him, he said, when we go on the road to Clemson, because Clemson, and Ben Paulson confirmed this, in their outfield, they have a berm in left and center field. No warning track.
No warning track, just a berm.
So if all of a sudden you find yourself running uphill, the wall is next.
you better take heed to that.
Yeah. Here's the Rockies lineup. DJ LeMahieu's going to hit up top. Dallas Keuchel's on the hill for Houston, and he has been splendid this year, really going back to the All-Star game of last year. So the Rockies have loaded up on right-handed bats, and Walt's lineup is presented each night by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Tulo will bat second. Arenado, who homered yesterday in the first inning, will bat third. Willeen is in there at first base. Michael McHenry will be the DH. He'll bat fifth. Brandon Barnes, the former Astro, will bat sixth. Rafael Noah, switch hitter. He's in the seventh spot playing left field. Nick Hundley will bat eighth. And Charlie Blackman, probably for the first time in his career, will bat ninth. And he'll be the lone left-handed bat in the lineup. And there is Dallas Keuchel. And Hugh, it's really a good story of perseverance. Former seventh-round pick out of the University of Arkansas.
How about this? In his first 55 games, he was 18-23. So 5 games under, had a 4.55 ERA, a 1.43 WHIP. But then he decides to go to the All-Star game, and since then, he has just been money. 10-6 with a 2.21, a 1.05 WHIP. This year, his WHIP is .95. So part of the reason why Charlie is down at the bottom of the order, the only left-hander in the lineup, is because lefties are hitting 130 off of Dallas Keuchel.
And he's a ground ball machine. He's more of a contact pitcher. He can get a strikeout, but he very infrequently gives up extra base hits. He's hard to hit the ball out against, and Dallas Keuchel has developed into a true number one. So that's what the Rockies are facing tonight. And at Minute Maid, he's outstanding. His last 10 starts, he's 6-0 here in Houston. First pitch of the ball game is in there for a strike, and that's something else about Keuchel. He didn't walk people.
And he throws 14, just less than 15 pitches per inning. He's only walked 24 guys in 94 2/3.
And this is the first time he has faced the Rockies. So the Rockies will be trying to get a feel early on for ball movement, pitch sequence. And that's what he does. He'll work away at varying speeds.
He can go from 87 to 90 to 92 with the fastball. He'll throw a slider and a changeup. Not too many cutters, but he'll work both sides of the plate.
That's the changeup. No swing. They check it out at first with Hunter Wendelstedt. We'll tell you our umpires quickly. Jerry Lane is the crew chief. Jerry's behind the plate. Hunter Wendelstedt at first. Bob Davidson is at second, and David Rackley is at third. Fourth time this year that DJ has led off. 14th time in his career. 2 balls, 2 strikes just underway at Minute Maid. And that's downstairs. 3-2.
Well, if nothing else, this has been a good at bat for DJ to go back. He's seen 5 pitches, maybe foul one off and get a hit. But even if he doesn't, go back to that dugout and let guys know what Keuchel has.
It's on a reconnaissance mission. And this is bounced to third. Valbuena's got it. He throws across to Chris Carter, 1 out. Astros have been pretty solid defensively. Now they're missing Jose Altuve. He strained his hamstring on Friday. He's still listed as day-to-day. Took batting practice today. Preston Tucker's in left field. Good defender. The veteran Colby Rasmus in the middle. George Springer can really throw. He's a terrific athlete. He's in right. Valbuena, and there's the 20-year-old Carlos Correa at shortstop. Marwin Gonzalez is very versatile. He's getting to start again for Altuve. Carter is below average defensively, and Jason Castro, veteran catcher, has that one on the outside corner. There's Carlos Correa. Talking to some people around the Astros, they can't recall another Astro player wearing #1.
And being 6'4", playing a middle infield position.
This is not unusual. Comebackers. Keuchel has fielded more ground balls than any pitcher in baseball, and last year it was a similar story, and in fact he was so good at fielding his position he won a Gold Glove. No pitcher in Astros history had ever won a Gold Glove.
Just a great athlete. He was a two-guard in basketball, quarterback, defensive back in football in high school.
He went to high school with a guy we know very well, George Frazier's son, at Bishop Kelly High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And they won a 5A state title when Dallas was a senior. Time now for the big hits presented by Mako. Turn the car you drive into the car you love. Yesterday, 2-run home run in the first inning. That gave the Rockies a 3-0 early lead. They go on to win 4-1 to snap a 4-game losing streak. It's a 1-1, and it's a little breaking ball. 1-2.
And for Keuchel, he'll throw all of his pitches for strikes, but the thing that makes him so hard to hit is he'll throw all 4 pitches from the same arm slot. He doesn't try to drop down or go back over the top more to create more depth, either with the slider or the curveball. He just really thinks about finishing out front.
Two outs, nobody on. 2-2 the count on Arenado. And that's pounded into the ground as well, and Balbuena throws across. The Rockies hit 3 ground balls in the first inning, and that's what happens a lot when you're facing Keuchel. Chad Bettis to the mound when we return. Park. The Rockies will play a day game tomorrow, weather permitting. I know it's indoors, but they're really worried about that impending storm. George Springer is going to lead things off for Houston. Right fielder, a product of the University of Connecticut, his home state. And here's a batting order for A.J. Hinch, brought to you by our good friends at Southwest Airlines. Carlos Correa will bat second, then Preston Tucker, another good-looking young hitter. Evan Gattis comes from Atlanta, plenty of pop. Then Colby Rasmus, Chris Carter, speaking of pop, Luis Valbuena, Marwin Gonzalez, and Jason Castro. So here we go, Chad Bettis. And his first pitch is hitting the air to shallow right, and it's going to drop. in front of Brandon Barnes. Hit off the end of the bat, and Springer is aboard. Now an 8-game hitting streak for Springer. This will be the 7th start for Chad. A low ERA, 2-1. He lost his last start, his first loss of the year. But I love the 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, Jeff.
He's averaging almost 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, 8.2, so that's doing something, and then only 11 walks in the 38 and a third. Yeah, he's coming off a loss against St. Louis, but I didn't think he pitched all that bad. His pitch count was elevated, but he just couldn't find that strike zone consistently with his fastball.
And he finds it right there with his fastball, and it's 0-1 on Correa.
And if he does that against this team, he's going to rack up some strikeouts. They're a strikeout-prone team, but that curveball will really play down here in Houston.
George Springer can run at first base. Marvelous athlete.
13 of 15 at first base. The Astros, as we talked about in our open, are first in the American League in stolen bases with 50. Now, Altuve's not playing. He has 17. Jay Marisnick, the other guy, has 10. They have 27 out of the 50.
You know, it's interesting. They have a short bench. It's an American League club. We always talk about American League managers don't have to make many moves. If the pitcher's tired, they go to the bullpen. There's no double switches. Maybe you change something out defensively. There's only 3 guys on their bench, position player-wise.
8 guys in the bullpen.
Bettis, you know he's fired up tonight. Pitching in his home state. He's a West Texas kid. We're in Southeast Texas, but it is special for him to be on this mound tonight.
And he's been on this mound before when he was pitching for Texas Tech in the Houston College Classic, but never as a professional.
1-1 on Correa, and that's a base hit to left. So Correa, in his 7th big league ball game, has a hit in 6 of the 7, and he's reached in all 7. So Houston's got 2 on and nobody out as we check the Rockies' gloves tonight. In the outfield, Enoa is in left field. Charlie Blackmon in center. He's got to deal with that slope. Hopefully not, actually. Brandon Barnes in right. He knows his park well, having come up in the Astros organization. Arenado, Tulowitzki, LeMahieu, Rosario. It's a quick surface in the infield. Nick Hundley is behind the plate. This is the 15th year that they've played baseball at Minute Maid.
Well, it used to be called Enron. In 2000, my last year playing, I played here when I was with the Cubs. It is a very fast infield. Much like down in Miami, talking to some of the guys.
Ground ball, and that's going to sneak through for Tucker. Springer around third. Barnes' throw will go toward third, and safe there. 3 straight singles in Houston, picking up where they left off yesterday. Scoring very quickly here in the first frame.
They just come out and ambush Chad Bettis. They're not waiting around. And Tucker comes up and drives one to right field for his 11th RBI. Just 5 pitches in for Chad. Already 3 hits and a rundown.
Yeah, evidently their game plan was get after that first pitch fastball, and they have done that. And now you have El Oso Blanco, the White Bear, Evan Gattis, who has tremendous power. Bettis and Nick Hundley say enough of feeding him first pitch fastballs. We're going to go breaking ball here. It's 0-1. And look at Gattis, who's sitting dead red.
Obviously, by that swing, he saw how he started everybody else out, thinking that he was going to get the same thing.
Nobody out, first and third. That's inside. I think most of you who follow baseball know Gattis' story. He was a great high school player and dealt with some personal issues, some anxiety issues. Was supposed to go to Texas A&M out of high school, and this is fouled off. He ended up a little bit in rehab and then meandered around the country literally for 4 years. One of the places he meandered to, his sister was living in Boulder, and he was at Eldora as a lift operator. He was living out of his car at one point, moved on to Yellowstone. He was a lift operator, I believe, in New Mexico. And finally, he got talked into playing baseball again. And he ended up at a small school, and he got drafted by the Braves out of there and rocketed to the big leagues. And then he arrived in a hurry by hitting seemingly every other day. He was hitting balls out of the ballpark.
Oh, well, then Atlanta thought that he might be the answer behind home plate. They let Ryan McCann go. Realize he's probably more suited as a DH than he is an everyday catcher. Can play some outfield, but he can hit the long ball.
He hits out of a crouch. He is a large man, though. Look out. That's up and in. 2-2. Big barrel-chested guy, 6'4".
With the guy that crouches like he does, you have to pitch him under the hands, because the only way he can get to that ball is if he stands up.
Got him to chase on a fastball away at 93. That's a big strikeout. It sets up the possibility for double play, getting you out of the inning with just one run coming across.
So they've gone upstairs, backed him off the plate, and then worked down. The bad swing, good pitch from Chad.
Colby Rasmus. Former Cardinal at the plate.
And Toronto Blue Jay.
Rockies.
They're not wasting any time tonight.
No, I mean, it's like, you know what it reminds me of? A lot of college programs do this. I remember in college, you go up to the plate in scrimmages, it was a 2-1 count. Remember that?
Yes.
That's what this feels like.
Or one of those showcases they do now for the younger kids. A 1-1 count, 2-1 count. Swing.
Hundley has Correa scrambling back.
Colby Rasmus also a big high strikeout guy, 33% of the time. It's the fourth highest in the major league. So 62 strikeouts and 184 plate appearances.
They have one of the highest, true to form, they have one of the highest percentages of swinging at the first pitch in baseball. Now, do you believe it should be a club philosophy, how you attack, or the makeup of your personnel?
Makeup of your personnel, because not everybody's cut out of the same cookie cutter mold. So you might have guys that just don't feel comfortable doing that, or they need to see more pitches. Whatever it is, I think it's also by individual.
Good block by Nick again. 2-2.
I've seen clubs do it in the minor leagues where, at least early in players' career, sometimes mainly in rookie ball, they'll say, you have to take till you get a strike. So you try to see more pitches.
And Rasmus is not immune to striking out. 62 punch outs and 165 at bats. What's this conversation about, you think?
Maybe is trying to figure out if he could pick the ball up from where it was coming out of the stands.
Two and two on Rasmus. And this ball's clubbed to right center field. Not good. 3-run home run, Colby Rasmus, and Houston has a 4-0 first inning lead. 9th home run for Rasmus. That's the first home run allowed by Chad Bettis this year.
He was the only pitcher with at least 5 starts to not allow a home run. Boy, that was just a fastball right down the middle. Little low into the sweet spot of Colby Rasmus' swing. There was no doubt for his 9th home run, 23rd RBI.
And it's 2-0. Chris Carter at the plate. And Chad Bettis has gotten ambushed here in the first inning. And you know what? Even despite the 3 straight singles to begin, he had an opportunity to get out of it, just getting nicked. Now it's a standing 8 count.
You say ambush, it's only taken 18 pitches to throw up those 4 runs.
Carter hits a towering fly ball to center field. Well, you're going to have to throw that curveball more because they're on his fastball.
Or the changeup. I mean, either one. You have to throw some get-me-over curveballs, first pitch changeups. Because they're looking for the express.
And that's what this guy does. He doesn't have much of an average. Luis Valbuena, $185, but he's hit 14 home runs, including one yesterday. And you get an off-speed pitch, and it's 1-0. Fastball away. That home run by Rasmus was his first in nearly a month. May 19th, the last time he trotted around the bases. Curveball's in there. This is a different ballpark than the one the Rockies came from in Miami. Miami, cavernous, large, pitcher's park in every possible way. This is a ballpark that will relinquish home runs and thus some high-scoring games. The Crawford boxes down the left field line. Very short, just 315 feet down the line. And even where that ball that was hit by Rasmus landed, it's 373 to the power alley there, which is not nearly as deep as some. That was a home run. He hit that ball. That's legit. But it's not, you know, there were some guys who hit balls in Miami. This ball's well hit also. And it's run down out there by Barnes. There were some balls hit in Miami by some Rockies players that probably would be out in a lot of ballparks that were routine fly balls. Well, the Rockies have a lot of work to do. They're down 4-0 as we go to the second. Hollywood Sports is brought to you by your hometown Toyota stores. Let's go places. By Office Liquidators, offering Colorado's largest selection and lowest prices for new, used, and refurbished office furniture. By the Courtyard by Marriott, Western Elegance in the cultural heart of the city. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. City of Houston, as we go to the top of the second inning, Dallas Keuchel gets a swing and a miss from Willeen Rosario. 3 ground balls in the first for the Rockies against Keuchel. They're down 4-0, and there's even more bad news. Keuchel has given up 4 runs in a game just 3 times this year. He's not given up more than that.
And he's only given up 7 earned runs in 7 starts at Minute Maid Park. So you're going to be playing uphill. Just try to nick and claw your way to get a run or two. With these pitchers, sometimes when they feel that, they get that early lead, then it has even more confidence when they're going out there to the hill, whether it's going to be with the changeup or
well, you see that
with a slider.
You see that pattern there, and it was the same thing when DJ LeMahieu was up there. It's a 1-2 count. None of the pitches were in the 4 strike zone. He gets you to chase. Takes that curveball and sweeps it across out of the strike zone, though. But it's invited.
And he'll do it out, and he'll also do it in.
They're going to go away, changeup. Actually, the fastball there. We say oftentimes when guys have great command, nothing in the middle third of the plate. Well, with him, nothing's in about 90% of the plate. You don't see the baseball. Maybe the outer 10% on occasion he'll come in, but it's usually in off the plate.
195 batting average. That's second best.
And again, he had to reach for it. That ball's hit pretty well, but to one of the deeper portions of the ballpark, left center, and it's a long out. Join in on the conversation. Send us your thoughts and photos. Use Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Make sure you also use the hashtag Toyota Talk, and we'll share some of those thoughts and pictures during the game. So Mike McHenry operating as the DH tonight for the first time in his career, with 1 out in the second inning. Tonight is game 63 for the Rockies. Therefore, there are 100 games, including tonight, left on the schedule in 2015. Rockies begin play tonight under Walt at 28-34. Houston in first in the AL West at 36-28. Longtime Rockies fans will recall in the inaugural season of 1993, before there were 3 divisions, back when there was just 2 in each league, the Rockies and Astros were in the same division. They were in the NL West together.
Still find it hard to believe that they're in the AL West.
It feels weird saying that. It's a strike.
That didn't look like a strike.
Well, if he gets that.
Yeah. I wonder Mike looked back.
So Keuchel, his senior year, teamed with Parker Frazier. Parker was a junior. Parker was 8-0. Keuchel, I think, won 9 games that year.
Well, they should have won the state championship.
With that kind of talent. You know who else was on that team? Chris O'Brien, who's in pro ball. Charlie's son. He's a 2-2. 3-2. They lost only 3 games all year. Won the 5A state title in Oklahoma. And I believe they finished 3rd in the mythical top 20. Bishop Kelly High School in Tulsa. On the ground to second, Gonzalez. League leaders brought to you by your Colorado Hyundai dealers. Major League ERA leader Sonny Gray's having a marvelous year for Oakland again. Garrett Cole and A.J. Burnett for Clint Hurdle, and then Dallas Keuchel at 190. How about the game by Scherzer yesterday? 16 punch-outs and a complete game performance. Just 1 walk, 1 hit.
He retired the first 18.
And Barnes hits it softly to second. The Dallas Keuchel has retired the first 6. He's got 5 ground balls. 4-0 Houston.
Lead. Jorge De La Rosa yesterday, a big day, became the Rockies franchise leader in victories with his 73rd in Miami, and that prompted a tweet from the guy that he passed, Aaron Cook, who said congrats to his former teammate, JDLR, Jorge De La Rosa, and a nice little gesture from Aaron Cook as that win came yesterday over the Marlins for the Southpaw. I talked to Michael McHenry today about the milestone, a big one for the Rockies.
I mean, it's remarkable. I don't think Coors Field has any indication of how good he is because he pitches better there than he does on the road, I think, all time. I think he's a guy that doesn't think about any of that stuff. When he goes out there, he competes. It doesn't matter if you throw him out there on Williamsport Field or if you throw him in Yellowstone Park. He's going to compete. You know, if you give him a ball and a glove, he's going to figure out a way to try to win that ball game.
And Drew and Jeff Pedro Estacio said the same thing to me yesterday. He's got heart. And he's got guts, and that's what he goes on often, and that helped him with that win yesterday. So, yes, congrats to Jorge De La Rosa.
Well deserved that he's now the all-time leading winner in Rockies history. 26 games over 500, maybe even more impressive than the win total. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Bettis working on Marwin Gonzalez out of the 8th spot in that A.J. Hinch lineup, and that was a good pitch. He strikes out Gonzalez. And here's the list of which De La Rosa is now on top. Aaron's next, then Jeff Francis, Jason Jennings, and Ubaldo Jimenez.
Awful nice of Aaron to tweet out congrats to Jorge. I know players will say, oh, I don't mind if somebody passes me. It's okay. But it still stings. You'd like to be at the top of the list. You're a competitor.
Sure. Jason Castro pulls that to first base. Willian's got it. 2 gone, and that'll bring up George Springer. Springer had a base hit on the first pitch of the game. It's kind of a fly ball that dropped in front of Brandon Barnes off the end of the bat. And that was the first of 3 straight singles. That made it 1-0. Then the 3-run home run by Colby Rasmus, and he takes a big old hack. George Springer went to UConn, and when he was there, his roommate in college was that man, Scott Oberg. They got to reunite a little bit before the ball game.
We just had an umpire, Jim Reynolds, down in that series in Miami that went to UConn.
Well, they're everywhere. Kyle Houston, his son, standout defenseman for the Huskies. Nick Ahmed, shortstop with the Arizona Diamondbacks, was with these guys at UConn.
Pretty good year that year.
Springer's from New Britain. He's a native of Connecticut. 1-2, breaking ball, and it wasn't a good one. It hung up there. High fly ball toward the Crawford boxes, and it's gone. 5-0 Houston. 9th home run for Springer. That was a Minute Maid home run. He got it off the end of the bat a little bit, but if you hit a ball in the air with a little bit of distance in left field, it's going to land in those seats known as the Crawford boxes.
Springer gets all of that one. See it on the forward strike zone. That's now 87 home runs for the Astros. Dodgers are second with 81. Blue Jays third with 79.
And 55 of those 87 home runs have come here at home. Yeah, Toronto's been swinging it. Houston's ahead of the Blue Jays. 0-2.
Toronto won their
Carlos Correa.
11th yesterday. 11th.
They won their 11th in a row yesterday. They're in New York taking on the Mets tonight. He didn't bite on the slider. Well located. It's 1-2. It's a quick adjustment. That's one of the things that people look at. Correa swung at the first slider that was in that same location. And he saw that one well, and evidently that one also. So now it's a 2-2 count. Carlos Correa, when they went in the clubhouse, Huey, and told the club a week and a half ago that they were bringing up Correa, they stood and applauded. That's how well thought of this young man was, what he did in spring training. And, you know, the other guys had seen him a little bit last year, and they realized, you know what, he belongs.
And he didn't have that air about him that he was cocky and everything should be handed to him. He went out and worked for it.
And that's a ground ball up the middle of base hit, so he's 2 for 2. 6 hits already for Houston. I'll tell you another quick story about Correa. Springer was rehabbing, and he went down to AAA where Correa was. When he came back, Correa's still in AAA. When he came back, he had stolen Correa's nameplate over his locker and put it up in the Houston clubhouse.
That's how well he played when he was there. That's a lot of pressure on a 20-year-old kid. Your #1 overall pick. The franchise at that time was being built around you because they're in the midst of 3 straight 100 loss seasons. They picked this kid up and goes in the Gulf Coast League, hits over 300, and then just skyrockets.
Yeah, even at this point, he's only played a little over 50 games above A-ball. But he certainly looks like he belongs. Preston Tucker at the plate. He had an RBI single in the first. Jeff Lunau, general manager, came from the Cardinals a few years ago to remake Houston. Big analytics guy.
Well, one guy they also signed was Preston Tucker's little brother.
Yeah, Kyle was the 5th pick in the draft this year. Tucker went in the 7th round. Preston's out of the University of Florida. That's where Kyle was going to go. But he was the 5th pick overall. He's about 4 or 5 inches taller than Preston. He's on the field today with mom and dad and his sister.
Florida High School Player of the Year.
With 10 home runs this year in high school baseball for
And his brother might have to buy
high school
dinner tonight because he signed for $4 million.
That's right. My big brother's in the big leagues,
but I just have
I got a bigger bank. Yeah. 3-0. This is one of those guys that has always hit, but scouts say, well, you know, he's not super fast. He's not this, not that. But everywhere he's been, he's hit. He hit in the minor leagues. The Rockies drafted him after his junior year in the 16th round, and he told us before the ball game he came close to signing. So Billy Schmidt and his team were on Preston Tucker when he was at the University of Florida.
Is that kind of sound familiar with Corey Dickerson? If you can hit, you can hit. They'll find a spot for you.
That's right. Three and two. When you look at the offensive record books for the Florida Gators, and he is all over it.
Well, in the College
RBIs, hits.
In the College World Series now, they put a hurting on Miami the other day.
Big time hurt. That pitch misses. Bettis has walked Tucker. So Correa to second. And Evan Gaddis will come up. And here comes Steve Foster out. Now, this return to the Lone Star State has not gone in any way, shape, or form early on as Chad Bettis would have liked. With every challenge call, the Subaru Eyesight Review will determine the outcome. Love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. Gaddis struck out swinging his first time on a fastball down and away. Did I hit one of the girders?
Yes. Hit one of the roof girders.
You have to be really strong to hit a pop-up that high.
It's like that catwalk in Tampa. But that one in Tampa, because the way it is, you could play that ball off the catwalk. It's still a live ball.
Curveball's low. Now, is that a catwalk on that girder above us? Does that look like a catwalk to you?
No, I think it's too narrow.
Because, well, that's what I was going to say. There's no way in the world I would ever go up there.
Now, that's
the catwalk.
That's the catwalk.
Guess what?
You
that has a railing, and I'm still not going up there. Pop up the shallow center. Blackman coming on. He's got it, and that ends the inning. 2 men left on. George Springer hit a home run into the Crawford boxes to make it 5-0 as we go to the third. 2 down here and 2 up in Denver at Coors Field. And it's all Houston so far, 5-0. They lead. Who wants tacos? When the Rockies score 7 or more, go to participating Colorado Taco Bell locations the next day. Do it between 4 and 6 to get your Rockies taco special. Liv Moss at Taco Bell. Drew Goodman, Jeff Hewson, and Mark Stout from Minute Maid Park. Rafael Inoa, Nick Hundley, Charlie Blackmon, 7, 8, 9 against Dallas Keuchel. 7-2 this year.
Well, pretty much true to form for Keuchel, what he's doing with the ground ball outs. 5 out of the 6 outs have come on the ground.
That's a line drive, and making a catch is Springer, who's playing in, and he takes a base hit away from Rafael Inoa. Hardest hit ball so far by a Rocky.
It's kind of a human highlight film out in right field. We've seen him crash into walls, and this time playing so shallow. He got a quick break and a dive to catch that line drive. But just to finish my thought on Keuchel, he's averaging 4.62 ground balls to fly ball ratio, leads the major leagues. He already has 5 ground ball outs tonight.
Well, that's a ridiculous ratio. 1 strike on Nick Hundley. Nick 0 for 7 in the Miami series. He did reach twice on walks, once when he was hit by a pitch. And again, look at that, 0-2. You just look at the 4 strike zone, you assume, oh, the hitters ahead 2-0. But he gets you to chase out of the zone with great regularity. And he got him to chase a pitch that was out of the zone again. First strikeout for Keuchel, 2 gone. I mean, these are quick at bats too.
Turning the changeup over. You read it as a strike out of the hand, and then by the time it finishes getting to you, it's nowhere near that.
Charlie steps in, hitting just 154 left on left.
Dallas Keuchel, he's giving up just a 164 batting average against off-speed pitches. Now the Rockies, conversely, they lead the major leagues in hitting off-speed pitches, but where he's locating it tonight, they're going to have to get it up or they get it into the zone more for that number to be up in the 260s. Because right now he's not putting it in the zone, and they're going after him.
Blackmon led the ball game off yesterday with a home run down the right field line, his 8th of the year. Boy, big shift in the outfield on this 2-1 pitch, and it's fouled off. And that is something Houston does. They shift as much as any team in baseball. 2nd overall to Tampa. But they will shift not only hitter to hitter naturally, they'll shift significantly, sometimes pitch to pitch. We were talking to Richie Dower, former Rockies coach, about that. And there's the shift leaders in baseball. Rockies 5th, number 1 in the National League. Quite a change from a year ago when the Rockies were near the bottom in defensive shifts in baseball.
But not a change for Houston, because they were at the top of the list last year. So they've been doing it for a few years, but it takes diligence for the players to look into the dugout after every pitch to see where they need to be moved to.
Well, so frequently now in college football, teams go up to the line of scrimmage and then they all look to the sideline to get the play.
It's almost become that in baseball.
Now I'm looking at Rasmus in center field. He's way over in left center field. George Springer, he's about 60, 70 yards from the right field line. He's pulled foul.
Kind of, you can tell with Springer in right field where he is and how far he shifted over, because if you drew a line from third base to second base out to Springer, that tells you that he is in a off gap mode.
And they're moving him even more on the 3-2. And this is a ground ball to second, an easy play for Gonzalez. And the Rockies go in order. So 9 in a row set down to begin for Dallas Keuchel. And the Astros have a 5-0 lead. They scored 4 in the first inning, 3 singles and then a 3-run home run from Colby Rasmus. They added a run in the second on a solo shot by George Springer. Here is Colby Rasmus now to begin the third. Rasmus, Chris Carter, Luis Balbuena. And the first pitch, a fastball, just missed, ball 1. It was a 2-2 pitch in the first inning to Rasmus. He didn't miss it.
He didn't miss the fastball. Thought they might go with a curveball or a changeup to Rasmus. Big strikeout guy. They missed with the fastball.
2-0 on Rasmus. And 3-0. One is in there, 3-2 on Rasmus. And on the outside corner, that was a very interesting at bat. He watched 3 and then took 3 straight strikes. And well, we were talking about Keuchel getting a pitch or 2 that was off the plate. Rasmus not happy because that pitch was off the plate, but was called that way last inning by Jerry Lane.
Jerry has had the wide strike zone tonight, so players have to adjust to that. Hey, if you don't already receive Hot Rocks emails, you're missing out on the best ticket deals around. The only way to receive the emails is to become a Rockies registered users at Rockies.com.
Chris Carter at the plate. Hard sinker. Carter originally drafted by the White Sox in the 15th round.
He's a big guy. You and I, Drew, we're down in the tunnel coming in today, and he walked by us, and both you and I looked at each other after he passed by and said, wow.
Big kid.
Real big kid.
6'4", 250 pounds. 2-2 on Carter. In the dirt, 3-2. How about this? He was a high school shortstop.
With Pop.
Yes.
That would have been an easy one to grade.
Yeah. He bounced around in the minor leagues. He was moved a couple times. When he was in the Oakland organization 2 years in a row, he was Oakland's minor league player of the year. Hit 37 home runs last year. Stanton for the second most in baseball. Only Nelson Cruz hit more. Nelson hit 40 last year with Baltimore. Of course, he's now with Seattle. And he'll do that also. You know, 52% of Carter's at-bats end in either a home run, a strikeout, or a walk.
And there's only one player that's higher than that, and that's Jock Peterson of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
And just like.
Yeah, 5.2 for Carter, 52.2 for Carter, 52.3 for Jock Peterson.
Second walk allowed by Bettis. One out. Carter at first, and here's another kind of feast or famine guy in Luis Valbuena. If you're wondering, has this resurgent Astro team recaptured their fan base, at least through the first 2.5 months of the season, the answer would be not entirely. Their attendance last year, they averaged 22,000, just under 800 through their first 35 home games. This year, they're averaging about 700 more than last year, so it's not a significant difference. Though they hope now, with school being out, that'll change. They did a little better over the weekend with Seattle in town, and maybe it's
people were holding their breath.
Yeah,
saying, "Well, we'll wait and see how long they carry this in." But now they're in the middle of June, and all the sabermetricians, everybody was saying, "Well, they strike out too much. They can't continue to do what they're doing."
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't come out and watch them. First of all, whether they end up winning the AL West or not, this ball's in the air to right field. Will be caught by Barnes. 2 outs. They're fun to watch. They hit the ball over the wall. They run really well, and they have some outstanding young talent. And right now, they're in first place. So I don't know why the folks aren't running out to see A.J. Hinch's club. And here's the rest of his staff: Dave Hudgens, hitting coach. Brent Strom has a really good reputation. Richie Dower now at first base. There's our old friend Richie, former Rocky coach, third base coach. Gary Pettis at third base. Trey Hillman, who's the former manager of the Royals.
Bench coach with the Dodgers.
Marwin Gonzalez at the plate. Gonzalez struck out last inning. Marwin hit a home run yesterday. Just 4 for his last 42, though. Carter at first with 2 outs. Conservative lead. He's not a base stealer. And that's a single up the middle. And Carter will be able to go first to third.
The obvious difference between the American League and National League. If you're playing in the National League, say, oh, I got the pitcher. Get out of this inning. Nope.
You got a position player. Jason Castro, the catcher. Breaking ball in there for a strike. Well, A.J. Hinch, being a former catcher, is going to be particularly hard on his catchers, which is natural, such an important position. And that's also probably complicated a little bit by the fact that A.J. Hinch is Stanford grad. Jason Castro, a catcher from Stanford as well.
Do they communicate on a different level then? Since they both went to Stanford? Or is it just the catcher level?
Maybe a little of both.
A little of both. Okay.
One of the interesting things, you know this to be true about the Stanford program. It's a great baseball program, but like a lot of college programs, the pitching coach does a lot of the pitch calling.
Like a lot of the programs do. I don't think any of the catchers call their own game.
And so that's an adjustment when those kids get to the professional level. Bettis strikes out Castro to leave 2 on. We go to the 4th. The Astros up 5. And I look back at the last 8 years prior to this year, and they weren't supposed to win. And he had them in contention on several different occasions with talent, again, that was not predicted to contend for anything. And then this year's the first year As DJ's going to ground out the second. Gonzalez has been busy. This was the first year where they put together a roster that they felt could do some damage, and they're 2.5 months in and hovering around 500, and they let a good man go. So, you know, they're entitled to do that, but I was disappointed to read about that this morning.
And on a personal level, just because of the way he is with the media, with his players, talking to players with San Diego. They love playing for Bud Black. But it's part of the business, and you kind of had a feeling when they did all the moves this offseason, if they didn't get off to a good start, that he was going to be let go. Dave Roberts will serve as a temporary interim, but they also said they're going to look for another interim manager.
Yeah, which is interesting. A.J. Preller, the young general manager there, because again, maybe they want to go outside the organization, because to me, Dave Roberts is a manager in waiting somewhere. I know you feel that way also.
He's done it all. He's coached first. He's been a bench coach. So he's kind of made all the steps necessary to do it.
1-2 on Troy. And sometimes it works out. I mean, where all of a sudden the clubhouse is, man, we just got a good man fired, because you know, Hugh, you played a long time.
Well.
If you can't play for Bud Black,
and if you can't look in the mirror and say, you know, is there something I'm doing wrong to get this guy fired? That's the way they should look at it.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Tulowitzki. We've seen a lot of 1-2 counts, and Keuchel goes to that curveball, and he never throws it in the strike zone, and then he comes back and goes soft away.
Change up in any count doesn't matter to him. He feels confident throwing it. He will throw the slider. That's what makes him one of those all-star elite type pitchers.
He went fastball off the plate. Troy did a nice job spitting on it, as they say. And it's 3-2. Troy tonight playing in his 1,018th game as a Colorado Rocky, tied for 4th all time with Dante Bichette. And he chased out of the zone. Correa throws him out. 2 outs. We have a question on our Twitter talk. Do you think Bud Black will manage another team this year? I wish him all the best. That from Troy.
I don't think so.
I don't think in the.
It's really hard.
In the middle of the year, usually you get interim status, and then in the off season, that's when you're going to make a significant move. And I think Bud will probably sit back
and who knows if he wants to manage anyway. He lives in San Diego. He's made his home there. You could say.
Well, he went to San Diego State, and he was, you know, working up the road for Mike Scioscia and the Angels for years, and then he came down. So he's been on that, you know, in that Southern California corridor for so long. But on the, you know, the other side of things, we know how much Bud enjoys competing, and he's a young man, takes great care of himself. So I would think he'll manage again. I just don't think it'll be this year, Troy, to answer your question. Ball and a strike with 2 outs on Nolan Arenado. 1-2, 11 straight set down to begin the ball game by Dallas Keuchel. And the Rockies have hit only 2 balls in the air. Deep fly ball to left center by Willeen Rosario. A line out to right by Rafael Ynoa. And Keuchel, and he's barely out on the mound long enough to kick some dirt. And then he's turning around and walking to the dugout.
walk the outfield with Brandon Barnes. Of course, he started his career here with the Astros, playing right where he is tonight, center and left. And I asked him, how do you deal with Tal's Hill?
Try not to worry about it is the big thing. During batting practice, you run up it a couple times, get a feel for it. Big thing is keeping your knees up, high knees. Try not to catch your spikes in the grass because it is an incline. But just go hard for it.
And Drew and Jeff mentioned, as this is grounded to Nolan, and he'll get Springer for the first out, that Tal's Hill is history as of this season. They are going to renovate here at Minute Maid Park. They're going to move the wall in from 436 to 409, and then above it, put in kind of a rooftop kind of a feel with a bunch of bars and an open seating area. The Astros visited 20 other Major League parks, got some ideas, and this is what they'll come up with. It's a $15 million investment. But I know, Jeff, you like the fact that no more hill, and that wall's going to be kind of where the warning track is now.
Yeah, I never understood that hill, why you would put something like that in a Major League ballpark. I know it's kind of fun and innovative, but it's also, nobody's been hurt out there, but still, you got the flagpole in play. Try doing that in an NFL stadium.
I'm a little surprised in 15 years nobody has been hurt. Now, it's way out there. I mean, 436 feet. That's, the only guy who goes out there is Stanton, probably. But I'm with you. I'm glad they're removing it. And Mark mentioned they checked out 20 other parks. One of the parks they obviously checked out was Coors Field, because they're doing as other teams are now doing with the success the Rockies have had in right field with the restaurants. And this ball sharply hit. Tulo comes up with it, and he's going to rob Correa of a hit. Nice play by Troy.
From one shortstop to the other. We've seen Troy move around pretty good on this road trip. Just going back for different balls, side to side. We saw him make a jump throw down in Miami a few days back where he got the one over the hole. This one he has to dive for. Quick infield, gets up, pops to his feet, gets Correa out by a step. And how about that transfer from glove to hand?
Correa made sure he went over before the ball game and visited with Troy. And Troy is, very giving of his time and is such a baseball guy, baseball fan. He wanted to meet Correa as well, and we chatted about him a little bit. He was impressed with him. He was impressed with his BP. He watched that. He was impressed with how he comported himself in the brief conversation they had.
When you play the same position as a superstar, you want to go pick his brain. You want to see, what he says and how he says it.
This is a flare to short left, and nice running catch by Nolan Arenado, the only man left on the left side of the infield. It's the first 1-2-3 inning for Chad Bettis. We'll go to the fifth inning. The Rockies trailing 5-0. Wonderful grab by Arenado. Rockies baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by the Ford Fusion. Power you want, good looks too. Ford, go further. By Southwest Airlines, book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. City of Houston bracing for another big rainstorm. And right now, their club's out in front 5-0. Drew Goodman, Jeff Houston, Mark Stout. Top of the 5th inning, Willeen Rosario will lead it off against Dallas Keuchel. And the Rockies have not had a base runner against Keuchel. He's perfect through 4 innings.
Talk about perfect. That's 52 pitches as we head here into the 5th inning. He had 13 in the first, 13 in the second, 13 in the third, and then he dropped down to 12 in the 4th.
7-2 with a 1.90 ERA coming in. League hitting just 195 against him. Lefties 130. And Willeen fouls it off. Willeen's hitting .353 this year against left-handed pitching, which is true to form throughout his career. He's hit above .330 against southpaws. How good has Keuchel been? You need further evidence if the numbers aren't enough for you. He was the American League Pitcher of the Month in April. He was the American League Pitcher of the Month in May. The last time a Houston Astro could make that claim, well, there's only 2 who've ever done it. Andy Pettit and Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson, the guy who's going into the Hall of Fame in a few weeks.
First 10,000 fans through the gates on Sunday, June 21st, will receive a Father's Day baseball cap sponsored by Coca-Cola.
In fact, the last time the same guy won Pitcher of the Month in the American League in April and May, he was Johan Santana, then of the Twins in 2004 when he was on the way to the first of 2 Cy Young Awards. This is off the end of the bat, broken, and McHenry's thrown out. I mean, this is like deja vu all over again if we were Yogi, right? Ground ball, very early in the count. Dallas Keuchel's got 2 outs already, and he's throwing a handful of pitches.
10 ground ball outs. Really, other than the ball that Noah hit with the line drive to right field, nothing else has been squared up.
Brandon Barnes hit a ground ball to second. Marwin Gonzalez has been busy. Rockies offense has been dormant the last 5 games. They won yesterday 4-1, but they had only 5 hits. They hit the 2 home runs in the first inning. Solo shot by Blackman, 2-run shot by Arenado. That's a strike. They've hit 188 over their last 5 games coming in, averaging 1.6 runs a game. Runners in scoring position, we can't even talk about that. The Rockies haven't had a runner, but 1 for their last 25. 47 strikeouts also, including 15 a couple of days ago. Teams will go through these stretches. We understand that. What's been difficult tonight, a little different because Chad Bettis has not been sharp, gave up 5 runs in the first 2 innings. But the Rockies starters over the last 22 games, an ERA in the mid-3s, really good.
It is, and that's where you think this offense would be able to put enough runs up so they wouldn't have those stretches.
Well, Hunter Wendelstedt says he went around.
For Keuchel.
It's the 3rd strikeout for Keuchel. He's perfect through 5. 5-0 Astros. inning. Evan Gattis, the cleanup man for the Astros, will be first against Chad Bettis. It's been a tough night for the Rockies. The day after every Rockies victory, get 50% off your online order at Papa John's. The promo code is ROCKSWIN at papajohns.com. Just walked out in the hallway and I met a group of Rockies fans. And see plenty out there in the stands. In fact, I know of a couple that came down especially to see Minute Maid for the first time and catch their team on the road. So many Rockies fans do that. Fans from all over baseball obviously do that in the summer months.
Some people plan their vacations around going to see a new ballpark.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely
fun to hear those stories. People stop us at the ballpark. Hey, I'm from wherever in Colorado. It's just nice to hear those stories and to talk to the people and say, oh, welcome to this ballpark, wherever it may be, because we see them every ballpark we go to.
Yeah, it's a great privilege that we have and a treat to see the new ballparks. The ones we've been, we've now been fortunate to have been to them all, but to go and see how that park is playing. Things change, players change, and for fans to get on the road and see their team play on foreign soil, so to speak, kind of neat. This is loop to second. Gattis will be thrown out by DJ. 1 out. '89 pitches in. That's a contrast when you think of the work of Chad Bettis versus Dallas Keuchel.
Keuchel has 60 pitches.
Yeah, Keuchel 60 pitches through 5 innings, averaging just 12. And to understand what that number means, Major League average is about 17 pitches per inning, so he's averaging 5 pitches less per inning than what would be constituted as average. Colby Rasmus, the big blow in this game, 3-run home run in the first inning. Astros have gone 9 straight years out of the playoffs. They've had just 2 winning seasons in that period of time.
2011, 12, 13, they had 100 losses. Last year they were 70 and 92. They broke that streak, but still 22 games below.
That's a strike. This is the latest they've been in first place in a season, believe it or not, folks, since September of 2003. That's when Biggio and Bagwell, they were all still around. Saw a picture on the wall, Huey, of a game we called down here when Biggio got his 3,000th hit. The game stopped for, I think, 15 minutes. And Bagwell in street clothes came out of a sweep. And he didn't want to, but Biggio insisted. And there's that great shot of him putting his arm around Bagwell, his longtime teammate. And congrats to Craig Biggio as well. We were talking about the big unit, Randy Johnson. Special time for Houston because Randy pitched here. And obviously Biggio, one of the all-time Astros, both going into Cooperstown later on this summer.
Biggio, I remember that 3,000 hit. It was a bloop double to right center field, but only in Biggio fashion was it a hustle double. Go sliding into second base.
Well, he had close to 700 of them, 668, most ever by a right-handed hitter. Special player, special talent. I mean, how many guys, as Carter lays off that pitch, how many guys at this level can catch, can play second, and can play center field?
Well, you've heard of a few guys. I think of Robin Yount, who played shortstop and then went to center field, but not catch. B.J. Surhoff did it.
B.J. could do it. He came up doing it a little bit, but it's just really unusual.
It is, and then to be so good at each of those positions.
Good looking pitch on Carter. 2-2. Strike three. Carter knew it. Kicks some dirt and walks off. 1-2-3 inning for Chad Bettis. He's retired 7 in a row, but the Rockies without a hit or a base runner as we go to the 6th. It was the first inning, the undoing for Chad Bettis and the Rockies. They gave up 4. Colby Rasmus hit his 9th home run, a 3-run shot into the bullpen in right center field. George Springer added a solo home run in the 2nd inning. Dallas Keuchel has retired all 15 hitters he has faced tonight, and most of them have been weak ground balls. Rafael Noah has the hardest hit ball for the Rockies tonight, a line shot to right that Springer made a nice catch on. He leads off and he takes ball 1. Nick Hundley, Charlie Blackmon to follow. The 61 pitches in for the 27-year-old lefty out of Tulsa.
10 ground ball outs, just 2 fly outs and 3 strikeouts. And Springer again in right field is playing very shallow.
One on the switch hitter Noah, and he chases away 1-2. That may be all for Bettis on pitch count. Christian Friedrich is throwing in the Rockies bullpen. I'm sure it will be, because Chad finished that inning with 101 pitches. Ground ball down the line, foul.
About as close as we've had to a hit, besides the line drive he had to right.
It's Christian. 1-2.
Where you have to guess what he's going to throw. I would guess if I'm hitting that he's going to throw an off-speed pitch. And he did, and he threw a fastball. But he's been throwing them so often that you're going to, when a pitcher's dealing like this, that's what you have to do. You just got to guess and hope you get it right.
Walked him. Crowd reacting. First base runner for the Rockies. So after 5 perfect innings, he walks the leadoff man Noah on a 3-2 delivery.
and it wasn't a strike on the 4th strike zone, but Jerry Lane has called that a strike 2 or 3 other times tonight. So you hold your breath, and he says no, then you take a trot down to first.
Good for Jerry Lane not to get caught up in
the emotion of the game,
in what's going on. And that pitch was off the plate. Nick Hundley struck out his first time. And this is cued foul.
The rooftop is the place to be during baseball season. You arrive early for pregame festivities and beer specials before first pitch. Need more information? Call Rockies 303 Rockies, or go online to Rockies/promotions.
Look, with the 286 average currently, that's the 4th highest average in Major League Baseball of catchers. Francisco Cervelli's number 1. You had Buster Posey, didn't you?
I did.
Posey's number 3. Ryan Pena's number 2 of the Reds. They're actually really close. 2 strikes on Nick. Five runs, 7 hits for the Astros. The Rockies without a hit here in the 6th inning. People at home probably saying, well, can't you make an adjustment? You know he's going to throw everything away virtually.
Until he comes inside.
There's a breaking ball that's ripped to left. First knock for the Rockies. And Noah stops at second. 2 on, nobody out. Nick Hundley breaks it up here in the 6th inning. And a nice round of applause. And many standing as they should for Dallas Keuchel.
The lone mistake that Keuchel has made. A hanging breaking pitch. And Nick behind in the count makes him pay.
So here's Charlie. Charlie grounded to second his first time, a 2-strike count. With Troy losing his hitting streak yesterday and DJ losing his hitting streak yesterday, Troy had 12 games, which matched his career long. DJ lost his after 8 games. Longest current Rocky hitting streak is Charlie Blackmon at 3 games. Castro blocks that 1-2. Rockies were a streak buster yesterday, not only snapping their own 4-game losing streak, but they hit multi-home runs at Marlins Park. First time a team had done that in 49 ball games, hit more than 1 home run.
You know you're doing something when you do it at that park.
Yes. Nope, 2-2. Change the tide in this game, Huey, if you could throw a couple runs up. You got the hit out of the way, the base runner out of the way first and foremost.
You're making him pitch out of the stretch.
Oh, that's called strike 3. Charlie didn't like that call by Jerry Lane. Understand why. Lane all night has had a wide zone east and west. He's given Keuchel a couple inches off the plate.
It's maybe not quite as bad some of the Braves pitchers when they were getting all the Maddocks and the Glavins, but it has been more than generous tonight.
DJ, a ground ball to third and a ground ball to second. Ball one. Houston has not been kind to the Rockies. The Rockies are just 30-54 in the city of Houston all time.
That's the second best winning percentage for the Astros against anybody.
At home, yeah.
At home. With Toronto, they've been better, but they've only played them 14 times at 12-2 against Toronto.
The other thing the Rockies really have to turn around is how they've played against American League clubs, period. They've lost 11 straight on the road against American League clubs. Their last 40 games against American League clubs anywhere, home or away, 10-30. And that's tough to figure because a few years ago, the Rockies had a stretch of about 4 or 5 seasons where they were the best National League team against the American League. Tulowitzki waiting. Noah walked. He's at second. Nick Hundley with the base hit, the Rockies' first knock. He's at first, 1 out in the 6th inning. With 3-0s in there, it's 3-1.
And I'd make this strike zone so small for DJ.
Let Troy come up with the bases loaded if possible. That ball lined to right. Springer lays out and makes a great catch. That was better than the first catch he made tonight. That is one heck of a play.
And it was better because if he doesn't make it, this is going to go down in the corner. 2 runs are scored, and it's either a double or a triple. And if George Springer go crashing into walls, he'll do just about anything. And this time, he lays out like Superman going towards the line. He timed his leap perfectly, catches it, and then pops right up to keep a Noah at second base.
That was a terrific play. And as Jeff described, unfortunately, it probably cost the Rockies 2 runs. Tulo hitting .359 against the Astros over his last 20 ball games. .404 average against lefties in 2015.
Huge gap in left center field.
That's just for show. That pitch in.
Then it's a back outside.
Well, you just know it based on how he's pitched all night. And if you're not sure, just glance to center field and look at where Rasmus is playing.
That's a good point because hitters do that. They'll be in the box, they'll look at the infielders and outfielders, and then figure out how are they going to pitch me.
That's in the gap, and Springer can't make this catch. Noah will score. And going first to third is Nick Hundley. The Rockies are on the board. Troy Tulowitzki with his 34th RBI. And the crowd reacting, giving Springer a hand. He's upset. He thought he should have caught that also.
But I was looking at Colby Rasmus. I thought he had a better chance to catch this than Springer. And he backed off. Well, they stood him up with the pitch and then went back away. And Troy, to his credit, stayed on it. You see Colby He backed off and became the backup man.
Yeah, Nolan hits one in the seats here. You got a whole new ball game. 5-1 after the knock by Tulowitzki. 2 outs in the 6th inning. Ground ball to third and a strikeout swinging. Outside ball 1 on Arenado. Maybe the Rockies, his 3rd time through, Jeff, starting to get a little bit of a feel for pattern and ball movement with Keuchel.
And arm slot, all of the above. I mean, you've heard about him, you watched as much tape as you could, but nothing beats the tape in your head. So where you're sitting there saying, I've seen it, but I actually need to see it with my eyes so I know where that arm slot is.
That's it. Rockies have played only 2 games against the American League this year. Both of those games close encounters, but losses in Anaheim. 2-1. Keuchel's thrown more pitches this inning than he has like the last 4.
Next pitch will be number 89. Now he has thrown 100 or more pitches in 11 of his 13 starts. So that's not.
What pitch did you say? The next one will be 89, right? Well, the next pitch will be his 29th this inning. And a base hit to left. It's 5-2. Here come the Rockies. Nolan Arenado with his 50th RBI.
And his 29th RBI since May 24th. That leads the major leagues. Giancarlo Stanton is second with 19. That'll bring the pitching coach, Kurt Strom, out. Oh. He goes down and gets a pitch probably as well as anybody in the big leagues. You can really change the plane of his bat to get to a pitch down and away. He does that by leaning over. That's why he's driven in 50 this year.
That'll bring up Willeen Rosario. Drove the ball to deep left center his first time. And then a ground ball to third. Nolan Arenado, 50 RBIs. So he's on pace to drive in well over 100. The Rockies' last 100 RBI man, that guy, Tulo, in 2011, drove in 105. Five to 2. And a broken bat roller, and Valbuena get the force at second. In the inning, the Rockies get their first base runner, their first hit, and now they have 2 runs on the board as well. 5-2, middle of 6. The Rockies trailing the Astros 5-2. Drew Goodman, Jeff Houston upstairs. Mark Stott working the ballpark. Luis Valbuena will be first in the 6th inning. The Rockies have come back in contact with the 2 runs in the top of the 6th, and now they'll hand the baseball to Christian Friedrich after 5 innings and Chad Bettis.
Listen, it's been a few days since he's worked. Pitched down in Miami on the 12th, just a third of an inning. Came in, got 1 quick out. Was done for the evening. Tonight might be just a little different. Might be asked to get 1+, maybe even 2 innings. Got some left-hander, 2 left-handers and a switch hitter, at least in the first 3 guys of the Houston Astros lineup.
Christian Friedrich was shagging during batting practice today, and I saw him run up there a couple of times.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's a natural attraction. You want to check it out.
Quick, take a picture. I think he's hit it so far. It is. It's 436 feet out there.
I'm sure it's happened. I don't know if I've ever seen video of a guy hitting a ball over the wall by the flagpole. It's had to have happened, right?
Oh, I'm sure. To go from 436 to 409 next year. From
2 strikes on Valbuena. We just learned from our television truck, some of the folks on the Houston broadcast side said that Richie Sexton, remember Richie hit him a long way, hit the flagpole about halfway up.
Okay, so the question
not a home
is
run
not
because the flagpole's in play.
Right. So if he hit it halfway up, but it dropped on this side of the fence, the ball's still live.
How about that? Ball would have gone about 475 feet. You get a double for it. Could have split that up and had 6 doubles. Strikeout of Valbuena, 1 gone in the 6th inning. Final line on Chad Bettis, 5 innings, 5 runs, all of them earned, 7 hits. A couple of those hits were home runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Chad obviously pitched much better in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th innings. He ended up retiring the last 8 hitters he faced, but he gave up the 3-run shot and a 4-run first inning, 3-run shot to Colby Rasmus. Marwin Gonzalez, switch hitter, in from the right side. He swings and misses.
Better hitter, at least statistically, average-wise, from the right side than he is the left side. 244 coming into the game. And a little over 200 hitting left-handed. 244 right-handed.
He was playing a lot of shortstop until Carlos Correa was brought up last week. And he's playing right now because Altuve has the strained hamstring. As soon as Jose is able to go again, and he's running a little bit, taking batting practice. We saw him before the ball game.
They said there's a chance he might play tomorrow.
So I'm not buying that. There's Altuve. I think you got to err on the side of caution with a hamstring.
And a quick turnaround day game tomorrow. Why not wait for a couple more days? Altuve last year, 225 hits, set a new Astros record.
He was a strong candidate for the MVP award in the American League. He won an American League batting title. He's 5'5".
He had 341.
Brandon Barnes was talking about him because he came up in the minor leagues with Altuve, and he said when he got to their high A club, his first day there, he hit a walk-off grand slam. And I said, were you surprised at all that he was able to get to the big leagues? He said, heck no. He goes, he could rake.
And I remember when he first got called up, we were doing the game against the Astros, and everybody with the organization was telling us about this small guy, at least height-wise, who can hit.
225 hits that Jeff mentioned, a club record.
And Biggio had the old club record, 210.
We just left Miami. Word is Jose Fernandez is going to make his debut on July the 2nd against the Giants. Oh, 0-2 on Castro. Christian's doing a nice job here. He's one strike away from getting the Rockies right back to the bat rack. After finally getting something going offensively. 5 perfect innings tonight from Dallas Keuchel. Rockies touched him for 2 runs on 3 hits last frame.
And that's what you want. Quick inning. The boys grab the bat again.
And that's exactly what will happen. Friedrich strikes out the side in the 6th. So we'll go to the 7th. It's Houston 5 and Colorado 2. McHenry will lead it off.
About 10 miles or so away from Minute Maid Park. And we showed the Astrodome because it was on this day in 1976 that the Astrodome had its only rain out. What happened was the teams were able to get to the Astrodome. It was the Pirates and the Astros playing that day. They got there, torrential rain started coming down, and Tal Smith, Tal's Hill was the GM then, he decided to cancel the game because people could not get to the park because of flooding. Even the umpires crew in their rental car, it stalled out. They waited back to the hotel, so they had no say in the game. They just couldn't get people to the game. So they had a rain out, and then actually a rain in because the players from both the Pirates and the Astros had a little buffet dinner around the infield with Larry Dierker serving as the guy heading the festivities. So that happened in 1976 on this day, and Drew's already mentioned it. They are expecting some torrential rains tonight, so kind of coincidental.
Yeah, and there's concern, Mark, that tomorrow's game could be in jeopardy for the same reason. 2-0. And we should mention that it is not scheduled to be on television tomorrow. 3-0 on McHenry here, leading off the 7th inning. We'll pick up with our television coverage back in Denver, game 3 of this 4-game set. It's not looked at as a 4-game set because it's 2 here, 2 there. And a walk to McHenry on 4 pitches. I wonder if that'll set off some alarm bells in A.J. Hinch's dugout.
I think it would have to after last inning when he faced 7 batters, couple walks, 3 hits, and then leads off with the walk this inning. Will Harris, former Rocky, former Arizona Diamondback.
He's picked up on waivers from Arizona. They've been raving about the work he's done. Brandon Barnes, who came up with Keuchel in their minor league system with Houston. First time Brandon's been back to Houston since the trade. Part of the Dexter Fowler deal almost 2 years ago.
Probably the best pitch that Brandon's had in his 3 at-bats. He took it, but he took it because he's thinking outer third.
Yeah.
Outside black. And that's where the next pitch was.
You're so used to away, away, away. Something shows up there, and you're like, whoa. Shocked you. Keuchel in the month of April was 3-0 with an 0.73 ERA. (5-2) the Rockies trail, nobody out. McHenry at first, and this is going to be a force out at second. Brandon got up the line. I'll tell you what, Marlon Gonzalez did a nice job, Huey, fielding that ball. That wasn't easy, was it?
No, because you don't know, what do I do? Do I go get it? Do I take a step back? So he ended up just dropping to his knee and then flipping it from his knee to the shortstop, Correa, who's running hard. He couldn't get anything on the throw. But for Gonzalez to just even catch it and make the flip was pretty impressive.
You can see he's describing the trajectory of that ball to Correa. 1 out, Rafael Ynoa at the plate, a line out and a walk last inning. Rafi broke up the perfect game walking on a 3-2 pitch. Joe Thatcher on the left side has joined Will Harris, and get back if you can. Barnes set. That was interesting. It's like he started to go and he realized he didn't get a good jump and he stopped, and fortunately was able to get back.
Stopped just shy of halfway there. I don't know if he thought it was a hit and run, maybe a missed sign, because he's looking at home the whole time and then didn't see the swing and dove back into first base. Because if you're going to steal with an 0-0 count, you're not going to look like that.
It's a 100 pitch for Keuchel. 2 strikes on Rafael. Yeah, that definitely looked like some form of a hit and run. Either he thought it was a hit and run or it wasn't.
But he got back at the end of that play. He was back at first, still safe.
Barnes was a popular player here in Houston. Impossible not to, from a fan's perspective, impossible not to love how hard he plays. And from a teammate or management standpoint, a coach's standpoint, same thing. Impossible not to love Brandon Barnes.
There was all kinds of people within the organization coming over and saying hi to him.
I was talking to a longtime friend of mine down here in Houston. He's been in the media for forever down here. And when the Rockies made that trade with Dexter, he's breaking it down. He said, you're going to love Brandon Barnes. So he's not a star player, but you're going to love him.
They call them glue guys. Glue, they hold the team together.
Yeah. I've said many times, no surprise the Rockies have played much better the last 3 weeks since Barnes has come up from Albuquerque. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Rockies down by 3. And Ynoa hits it fair. Tag play at second. And Barnes beats the throw.
I think Correa lost this ball as it was coming to second base. He acted like it surprised him. Carter comes off the back, catches it, steps. Watch the reaction from Correa.
Do you think he maybe lost it in the body of Barnes? It was kind of on that line.
Oh, he thought it was going to hit his helmet. That's what happened. He was ducking out of the way, expecting a ricochet.
So here's Nick. Hundley had the Rockies' first hit last inning. Single on a breaking ball to left. Clean line shot to break up the no-hitter. Wow, that's off the plate. I mean, Castro moved his glove a little bit. That's a ball.
It's been called a strike all night. And that's except for the one pitch to Rafi Noah that was over there. They called the ball to break up the perfect game.
This ball down the line, fair ball. It'll kick around in the corner. A run will score. Barnes makes it 5-3 on the double by Nick Hundley. And the Rockies now within 2.
I keep chipping away, chipping away.
That's going to be all for Dallas Keuchel.
Nick again throwing a base hit out to left field. Last time it was a single. This time it was a double and an RBI. Just kept it fair. Kisses around down in that corner. Rockies are 3 for 6 with runners in scoring position tonight.
Keuchel walks off. It's 5-3.
Second base. Well, the first 10,000 fans through the gates on Saturday, June 20th, will receive a drink tumbler sponsored by King Supers. With the noise the Rockies have been making, the Astros had to go to their bullpen and bring in a familiar face in Joe Thatcher. Remember him from all those years that he pitched out in San Diego. Doing a nice job here for the Astros. The lefty's 233. That's higher than the average that he's had in his career.
And Charlie just 154 coming in against lefties. He throws out a hit. It's a one-run game. Hundley at second. Outfield, wow, this is amazing. Charlie Blackmon's got a lot of pop. The outfield is playing as if there's a pitcher at the plate. Look how shallow they are.
And they even moved the left fielder, Preston Tucker, in even more.
And this is less out of disrespect to Blackmon and more about it's not just shifts in the infield for Houston, it's how they align their outfield.
Because their infield's not bad. I think it's more straight up, maybe even a little on the pull side for the shortstop Correa, but the outfield, that is completely opposite.
0-1. And the sweeper misses. It's 1-1.
And that's Joe Thatcher's signature pitch, a sweeping slider. Not a hard thrower. 85 with the fastball, mid-70s with the slider.
And that's a strike. 1-2. And again, that east-west strike zone of Jerry Lane, I mean, it's been a 20-inch plate tonight.
Yeah, I don't think that report he's going to get tomorrow is going to be too kind with the percent he got right tonight.
This ball is hit well to right field, but Springer goes back and makes the catch. In the inning, the Rockies get another run, a double by Nick Hundley, plating Brandon Barnes. It's 5-3, middle of 7 in Houston. Cycle perfect until the 6th inning, but the Rockies have now made it interesting. They're within a pair of runs as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. LaTroy Hawkins is now out for the Rockies after the terrific 6th inning by Christian Friedrich, in which he struck out the side. Top of the order for Houston, Springer, Correa, and Tucker.
For Hawk, he was perfect in his last appearance against the Marlins down in Miami. 1 inning, just took 5 pitches to get through that 1 inning.
42-year-old LaTroy Hawkins against one of the youngsters in the game, George Springer. George, a product of the University of Connecticut. One of the top prospects in baseball when he was called to the big leagues last year. In less than half a season, he hit 20 home runs. Give you an idea what kind of pop he has. And a fastball right on the outside corner at 93, strike one. Tell you what, if you're watching it, and LaTroy is a very astute observer of this game, and you got to be talking out in the bullpen saying, okay, guess what? Jerry Lane's given a couple inches off the plate. And look where Nick Hundley's wandering. He's off the plate. This ball's hitting the air to deep center field and gone. George Springer's second home run of the night. And he gets that run back for Houston just like that. His 10th home run of the year. He's 3 for 4.
And that stinks. You've fought and gotten back into this game 5-3. We talked about Springer's power. He takes a second pitch. That didn't do anything. At 86, he wanted it to be a slider, and it just spun up there. It's like a BP fastball.
Here's a 20-year-old Correa, the youngest player in the game. He takes a fastball down low. Well, that pitch was in error in two ways. One, it got way too much of the plate based on where Nick Hundley was set up, and as you described, it was up, and Hawk and Nick both wanted it down. That's leaped to right. That's going to be a base hit. Correa's third hit of the night. So the top two in the order, Springer and Correa, the two guys they're building the Astros around. Also, of course, Jose Altuve, but Altuve's been up for a while. Those two guys are 6 for 8 this evening.
They set the tone from the get-go back in the first inning.
It's Altuve. By the way, for Springer, it's his second career multi-home run game. He had one last May at Safeco in Seattle. Man, you hit him out of Safeco, you've hit him. Springer 3 hits tonight. He had a 5-hit game last June. Actually, he had a 5-hit game 5 days ago. Let me correct that. Against the White Sox. The last Astro to have 5 hits in a game was Brandon Barnes. Six to 3 Houston. Nobody out. Correa at first with speed. Preston Tucker at the plate. Correa 1 for 1 so far, stealing bases.
I wouldn't think he would have the green light this early in his career. It'd be more of a steal sign.
One ball, one strike.
Nishek, who's kind of moved into their 8th inning role. Originally it was Chad Qualls.
Got to work on his catching.
Yeah, his catching wasn't good.
And Hawkins strikes out. Tucker, 1 out. That'll bring up Evan Gattis. This game's kind of true to form for the Astros. They've struck out 9 times, hit 6 1/3, and they've hit 3 home runs.
Well, they just increase their lead in each category. I mean, they increase it in home runs, increase it in strikeouts. It's feast or famine for this club. Evan Gattis with 9 home runs here at Minute Maid. We have two guys in the top 5 in the American League with home runs at home. Gaddis and Valbuena.
Gaddis 0 for 3. Strikeout, fly ball to center, and a ground ball to second.
Might be a chance for Correa to try to swipe a bag. With the left-hander, you wouldn't put it on because you wouldn't want to take away that hole between first and second. But now with the big pull hitter up, you could go if you wanted to.
Say this about a lot of guys now in the big leagues. We said it about Giancarlo Stanton over the last 10 days, seeing the Marlins 7 times.
Who, by the way, was the National League Player of the Week,
along with
Chris Heston.
Who threw the no-hitter for the Giants. The bat looks like a popsicle stick in his hand. Looking at Gaddis.
Doesn't quite have the Bagwell crouch, but he does bend over. Bagwell was so wide, and
Bagwell took a negative stride.
Right, yeah, he would come back. He wouldn't go forward. Come back with that front foot.
You know, a bunch of hitting coaches, until they watched Gaddis take BP for a little bit, probably said, now we want that big guy to stand up, be tall. And they watch him take BP, they go, hey, you know what, we'll just let it be for now.
Just leave it.
Right?
The player has to do what he feels comfortable doing.
Can't have cookie cutters. There goes Correa, and it's off of Arenado to Tulowitzki to first. Just like you draw it up, 5-6-3. Gaddis kind of looking out there saying, what happened?
Well, you're robbed by two of the best on the left side of any infield. That's what happened. Not a play that's diagrammed, but a heads-up play from Troy not to give up on the play. Nolan, runner's going, dives. Troy gets it and fires to first.
Colby Rasmus, 3-run home run in the first, strikeout pop out since. Bottom of the 7th, 6-3 Houston. On the outside corner, a ball and a strike on Colby Rasmus. 18 home runs last year with Toronto.
He fell out of favor in St. Louis. He was traded to Toronto and now here.
Hit 20 or more home runs in a season 3 times. Twice 23, once with the Cardinals, once with Toronto.
Pitch up. Change the eye level. Now go back to those spots where you put the second and third pitch of this at bat. Down and away from Colby Rasmus. Fans, you can watch every out-of-market game live in HD on more than 400 devices with MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch trackings, and more every night on every device. Don't miss a game.
Two and two on Rasmus. 3-2. Rasmus, former #1 pick of the Cardinals back in 2005. Correa at second. Rockies have been out hit 9-4. That's popped out of play. A home run Colby hit earlier, his 9th of the year. He's hitting .355 during his last dozen. He comes from a baseball family. His father was drafted in the 10th round. Coming out of high school, his brother Corey was drafted.
Pitcher with Atlanta.
Yeah.
He also played on a Little League World Series team down in Phoenix City, Alabama.
So baseball in his blood.
And they went all the way to Williamsport.
Lost to Japan in the championship game that year in the Little League World Series. 3-2, curveball's high, so Rasmus walks. And that'll bring up Chris Carter. Carter 0 for 2 and a walk. That's low, 2-0.
That's when you got to really make sure you stay mentally into this defensively. 21 pitches, the game's kind of slowed down, but you got to stay in it.
Towering fly ball to right center field. Brandon Barnes waiting. He's got it. That ends the inning. George Springer led off with a home run to deep right center to make it 6-3 as we go to the 8th. Top of the 8th inning, the Rockies left the top of the order. Our Jimmy John's delivery of the game. Dallas Keuchel, perfect for 5 innings tonight. A multitude of ground balls. Walked Rafael Ynoa leading off the 6th inning. The Rockies would end up getting a couple runs off Keuchel in the 6th and another in the 7th. He went 6 2/3, 3 runs, 4 hits, couple walks, 4 strikeouts. But we got to see firsthand what everybody's been talking about in the American League this year and going back to the second half of last year, the work of the crafty left-hander Dallas Keuchel. Pat Neshek is on. A couple of changes for you. Jake Marisnick is in center field. Colby Rasmus moves to left field. Preston Tucker comes out. Neshek comes up with that baseball. DJ LeMahieu's hit the ball hard his last 2 times up. He's got nothing to show for it except an over.
Came up in self-defense trying to catch that ball. Neshek, one of the best in the game in strikeout to walk ratio. Righty's 173 because that drop down sidearm delivery that he developed in high school after an injury. Neshek last year was with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Tulo drove in a run in the 6th inning with a single. Fastball runs inside, ball 1.
It's somewhat like Steve Cishek with Miami, that they're drop down guys, but they throw harder than you typically think guys will.
It's really a simple delivery. It's just his arm slots below the shoulder.
Pretty fast with everything.
On the corner, 1-2. Three and 2 on Troy.
That gives a little hop after he lets go of the ball. One of the many variations that pitchers have used to try to deceive a hitter.
And that is strike 3. Who Wants Tacos fans, follow @RootSports_RM on Twitter to receive alerts for the Rockies taco special when the Rockies score 7 or more runs. Nolan had an RBI base hit in the 6th. Stayed back, lined it foul.
And Boone Logan in the bullpen for Colorado, getting loose.
Correa. And you see the arm strength of the young shortstop as he fires just in time to get Nolan. A 1-2-3 inning for Pat Neshek. 6-3. Rockies 3 runs on just 4 hits. Tonight's game changer is brought to you by T-Mobile. Well, Chad Bettis has given up in this game. In the first inning, he gave up a home run to Springer. And then later on, Troy Hawkins also would give up a home run to Springer. There was a home run by Rasmus against Bettis in the first inning as well. So Springer, with a couple of home runs, second time in his career, he's had a multi-home run game. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Boone Logan is on for the Rockies.
For Boone, he has pitched just one time since last Tuesday against the Cardinals, a third of an inning down in Miami. Lefty's hitting 103, 2 left-handers and 1 switch hitter in Gonzalez this inning. Just a couple pitches on Sunday.
First pitch is in there, a strike on Valbuena, 0 for 3. Couple flyouts and a strikeout for Valbuena.
He didn't look real comfortable against Friedrich with the curveball. You mentioned Dexter Fowler in the trade for Brandon Barnes. Well, Valbuena was with the Cubs and he came over here in a trade for Dexter Fowler.
He hits this ball a long way to center field, but it's going to be run down by Blackman.
A fine piece of outfield play from Charlie. He ran to a spot. He just put his head down, looked like a track star going to that gap.
One out, that'll bring up Marwin Gonzalez. Tried to bunt his way on, but came right back to Logan, 2 outs.
So I tweeted a moment ago, 16 years ago, that Jim Abbott picked up his first major league hit. He's off of John Lieber. You know who he picked up his second hit against? John Lieber.
Is that right?
Second hit was an RBI.
Two outs. Jason Castro at the plate. Slider misses, ball 1. DJ's got it. He's going to run it to the bag. Instead, he'll flip to Rosario. 1-2-3 inning in the bottom of the 8th inning for Boone Logan. So we'll go to the 9th. The Rockies trailing the Astros at Minute Maid 6-3. Top of the 9th inning. We also take you west and north primarily to our home in Denver. Root Sports Studio. Here's Jenny Kapnar. Jenny? All right, Jenny, thank you very much. That's a Ferris wheel. I'm not sure where that's located. You a big Ferris wheel guy?
Nope. Don't like him.
Luke Gregerson, the former Padres setup man, now the closer for the Astros. And he'll be looking to record his 16th save, and the Rockies will be looking to hand him his 3rd blown save.
Like
well, Lee Rosario is scheduled, but Ben Paulson's going to pinch hit here in the 9th inning. So Paulson will pinch hit for Rosario. The Rockies have a lot of left-handed bats available. Cargo, Descalso, Dickerson on the bench, and Paulson, obviously.
Because Gregerson, right-handers hitting .217, left-handers .245. Not much of a difference, but enough to put the left-handed pinch hitter up there.
Gregerson has one of those 3-quarter deliveries where he gets a lot of sink on the baseball.
Will be 88 to maybe 90 miles an hour with this fastball. But for many years, he was the primary setup guy out in San Diego. Come in and pitch the 8th inning before he turned it over to either Heath Bell or one of the other closers the Padres had.
And a good downward movement there.
Oh, he's 89 miles an hour. It's all about movement with his pitch.
And that's pulled through the right side. A base hit. Nice start. Ben Paulson, a pinch single. Let's check our CenturyLink link to what's next. 3 more ball games for the Rockies against the Astros. No television tomorrow afternoon here in Houston. Chris Russin and young pitcher they're very high on, one of the top prospects in their system, number 56 in baseball, Vincent Velasquez. And then it's Wednesday at Coors Field. Brett Oberholzer will go for Houston. Kyle Kendrick for the Rockies. Colin McHugh, the former Rocky, on Thursday against David Hale.
With that base hit by Ben, he's 2 for 5 pinch hitting, and now I see Corey Dickerson has come to the on-deck circle to hit for Brandon Barnes.
Henry takes a strike. And that 2 is in there for a strike. And the Rockies dugout. Carlos Gonzalez getting his batting gloves on. Hoping for an opportunity to come up as the tying run, or perhaps even better than that. Down 3. And that's in the air to right field. Springer is there, 1 out.
The 5th pinch hit appearance for Corey. 0 for 4 in the previous 4 times. Time to break that 0 for streak.
Corey's a combination of 2 guys. He's a big swing guy, but he's also a very good hitter. And he understands the situation. This requires getting on base. It no longer requires, all right, there's 2 guys on, I'm going to try to hit one in the seats. He's got to get on to pass the baton. The whole key when you're down multiple runs, you know this, is to get that tying run somehow to the plate.
Try to keep the merry-go-round going. And what does Gregerson throw? He likes to throw a sinking fastball and a slider where he'll backdoor it. But there's a huge hole at shortstop for Corey. He just waits on it and hit it there.
This is kicked by Carter, and Dickerson's going to reach on the error by the big first baseman. Noah is scheduled. Now you have Cargo available right now, but it's going to be Noah. He's looking back.
Carter just got out of position. He just started to fall over and then end up kicking it. Went off the heel of his glove. 5th error of the season for Chris Carter, 35th for the Astros. Now, if you're wondering about Cargo, he's 2 for 11 off of Gregerson.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at. And that may be the reason that Walt's going to stick with Noah. Ball back to the mound for 1 on the first double play. So Gregerson gets the ground into the 1-6-3, and Houston has won the baseball game tonight at Minute Maid by a final score of 6-3. Dallas Keuchel improves to 8-2. Chad Bettis loses for the 2nd consecutive outing. He's 2-2, and Gregerson gets his 16th save. And the Rockies have now lost 12 consecutive games in American League ballparks. George Springer, a couple of home runs tonight for Houston. They got off to a 4-0 start. The Rockies made it interesting.